Hi, Michael. How are you?
Find yourself?
Doing well, thank you. Big fan. I used to watch you on Arrow all the time, so this is awesome. Um, but I want to get started with in one more shot, how would you describe your character and then like where his sort of mindset is coming from?
Well, I mean, my character is working for a higher source, and he may or may not be a good or a bad guy.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, he's got a mission, um, and it's a very covert one. And there's a mission that I think is presented that might not be the entire story.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few twists and turns, obviously. And then when you do get to play characters with a little bit of let's just say like shade of gray, is it more fun to play characters that are more on that trend maybe toward the villainous side, or is it more do you prefer playing like sort of the heroic types?
Well, I kind of don't like to make too much of a distinction. Uh, I think it's very interesting to play a heroic type that's close to a villain. That's like that
Yeah.
close to a villain. Personally, those are my favorites.
Awesome. And then since you are and Scott Adkins are both like experienced martial artists, like how much rehearsal time goes into crafting a fight scene such as the one that takes place in the third act?
Not much at all. Uh, yeah, it's far less than people might think. It might be an hour,
Okay,
maybe,
and
maybe about an hour, maybe. But Scott and I basically we have such a shorthand on these type of things, and the fact that this is much more of a realistic fighting scene, and it's not a lot of like high technique. This is one of the more one of the easier fight scenes that we would tackle. But the hard part is of keeping everything together in a continuous take.
yeah. And then when you are presenting with like since it is all a continuous take, how does I don't know, like are you just trying to get it in one take or are you, if there's something that goes wrong, like are you just starting from zero again or do you just kind of pick up where you left off?
No, 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 no. We have to start from zero again. That's the whole thing of this. So yeah, there's some pressure to get it right, and so hopefully you have several um, sequences that are successful, and you can pick from the best one.
Gotcha. And then like again with since it doesn't take you too long to rehearse, obviously, and you guys know what you're doing. And to make this more realistic, were you looking at like stuff that you'd see like were you able to obtain like footage from like how Navy SEALs or how you would actually fight in real life versus something where like is more a little more heightened like what the work you did on Arrow?
Well, fighting is fighting. Any Navy SEAL could fight in any discipline that he'd like, you
Mhm.
know. But it's a lot more direct, of course. Uh, so we wanted to bring the realism in. But for like say Scott and I, you think about realistic fighting or continuous fighting. Look no further than professional wrestling. Every
Mhm.
time you're watching a professional wrestling match, there's no retakes. It's like right there, So you're taking a page out of their book, and the fact that there's a shorthand, we understand. And sometimes you could make a mistake, but you can make that mistake work for you. So Scott and I are at that place where we can kind of improvise on the way, knowing where we're headed.
Yeah, and since you do have Scott with you, like we're working with who is, obviously a fighter as well. So does that just make it a little easier on you when you're like trying to talk the shorthand or it's like this is the kind of move I'm gonna do. So you kind of have to brace for I guess the kind of strike that you're gonna be
Well,
landing.
we do learn the sequence.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and the great thing with Scott is, with working together, that we know we're not going to hurt each other. We're going to make this thing look like this kick in the head was devastating, but we know how to pull that off. And
Mhm.
and it's great when you can trust someone. and I know this kick to the head is going to look real, but it's not going to hit me.
Yeah. No, that fight is it's really
Mm.
awesome. And then
Yeah,
so
we
like
didn't do much kicking in it, but it's
yeah,
still
yeah. I mean it's a lot of
the same
grappling and
idea. Yeah.
yeah. And so I mean and I guess it is I mean it's a little bit exhausting, I assume, just like doing that, even if it's like I think it's like 2 3 minutes long, but I mean because grappling's not an easy sort of maneuver, so
It's actually a little, it's kind of welcome because it's so damn cold out there.
yeah. Huh.
Moving around gets you warm.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
And so I do want to get like it's not I mean, I don't want to get into the ending obviously, but if this is I think the second part in the one shot series, so like they do leave the door open a little bit. So where if a third installment happened, could you see your character making a return?
Uh, well, I don't know if we want to say too much of that right now.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to give away too many things, but I mean, of course, I'm always down to return if it
Mm.
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I mean, to get back to like the since it I mean the whole movie is such like this continuous one shot take. Like I don't know if this is the first time you've done something that extensive where it's like all of this like that, but what kind of challenge did that just present to you as like a performer? As like did that just make you like even sharper, like I have to get it right, or is it something that you just learned as you were kind of like on set?
Well, I mean, in my career, there's been lots of times where I've done continuous takes,
Yeah.
uh, and I've attempted continuous takes with fight scenes before. Those are the preferable takes, is the ones with no cut. But never have I done something like this to this degree, where you know, there's like 30 elements in one sequence. And so, I mean, I was really impressed by the first movie, and I was really happy that to be invited to do the second.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like I do want to get into some of your other projects. Like you were obviously the original Spawn, and so which is I mean I've seen that movie plenty, but so like they've been trying to make that, and they've trying to reboot or make some sort of sequel to that for a while. Is there a reason, like do you see a reason why it's been a difficult sort of project to reboot, or is that something that you're just happy that with so since you are the original, so
Yeah, I really don't think much about the sequel.
yeah.
If I was invited to do it, and then I'd apply myself toward it. But I mean, I think it's been talked about for a very long time, and it seems that Scott, right? No, no, no. What's the no Todd McFarlane
Yeah.
has been leading that conversation. I didn't quite understand. I mean, I guess there was talk about him directing it, but he had never directed before. So I thought that was kind of strange.
Mhm.
And I mean, that would be it'd be a huge budget, and I just don't, I was like, hey, all the power to him. But that would be an interesting decision to make. Um, I don't, and I know he was talking about using Jamie Foxx and other things or whatever. So I'm just kind of like, well, I mean, I wished him the best, but I
Mhm.
didn't. I just been on the periphery of that. But
Yeah.
if I was asked to be a part of it, then that would be a different thing. I would, out of respect for the fan base that put me where I am, I would be there. Um, but yeah, I don't quite understand what the concept is. I know Todd mentioned a concept of not seeing the character, and
Mhm.
it be like kind of like Jaws, like you can't really see it, but it's just. And he described something to me that I didn't agree with. I didn't think it would work. I don't know if he's still doing that, but I think that to do a sequel is to do it as a hard R and
Yeah.
make it very dark and badass. I think it needs to be like the cartoon or plain and simple, the comic book.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah. Um, Outside of that, I don't think I'd be interested in doing it if it wasn't going for the jugular.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, that'd be a really cool film to see. Because I mean,
Mhm.
the original was obviously a success. So it's like, did you at the time after that one came out, did you ever? Because it was the beginning of your career almost. Like, were you? Do you remember hearing anything about rumbles of a sequel then, or was it just something that?
No, there's always been talks
Yeah,
of the sequel. I, um, I wasn't that impressed with the first one, even though I'm involved with it. But
yeah,
even then, I thought it should be like the comic book or the series. I didn't know why such a dark character was going for PG-13.
mm,
So yeah, it's I think just like I thought in the beginning, it should be real badass.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then
Mhm.
so like you did start with Spawn, but you did eventually return. You've done a few different DC projects, but
Mhm.
I want to just ask you about like your time at working on Arrow and getting to craft Bronze Tiger and making him your own, because he does get like a happy ending at the end of the series. What
Yeah,
kind of
kind of
what do
straighten
you
that out a little bit.
yeah what do you remember about
Well,
like just being
he has a happy ending, as in it's an ending that's happy.
yeah 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 basically
Yeah, yeah,
yeah yeah no, you know what I
yeah,
mean
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah
Mm.
so like what do you remember what was your sort of experience on that and getting like this whole different because when Spawn was there was nothing as like the superhero movie genre but when you came out for Arrow it was like basically in like its apex so like what was do you remember it being a different sort of experience or just like a different sort of character that you were able to breathe life into?
Well, yeah, I remember one of the directors told me about that arc for that season, culminating with the one of the I think the one of the best uh, um, episodes I've ever been a part of. I feel like that episode where we have that break from prison. I
Yeah.
felt like that was a movie by itself, and that was worth that season to me doing that. And I feel like that's the direction. And I was really proud to work with Steven and Bam Bam to bring that performance in. I I wish there was more of that because I feel like you know that like a lot of the comic book movies have taken a softer look at things. It's kind of like I don't know. Uh, it hasn't been very believable to me. There, I feel like personally, I feel like comic book heroes should be badass, and they
Yeah.
should be believable, and they should be able to kick your ass. You know, so when I see a lot of these movies, I go, well, I don't know if Vinny drinking a beer, you know,
Mhm.
at home is going to believe that guy or this person because Vinny's like, hey, I can kick that guy's ass. I
Yeah.
feel like a superhero should be not just crammed down our throat because this person's hot in their career. Now they're a superhero. I think it's freaking silly. I think it's insulting on some certain levels. I
Mhm.
mean, it's different if somebody can really pull it off, but there's a lot of characters out there that I just don't believe like for a second. So personally, I'm not into I don't know when is the last time I've seen a superhero movie.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I love the Joker. I love Heath Ledger in the Joker, and I love Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker. I
Yeah.
love Christian Bale as Batman, and of course Michael Keaton. You know, these people. I love the believability. So maybe I'm a little too close to it, but they're not. The other stuff ain't getting
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree. And
me.
like speaking of the Joker, you did get to work with Heath Ledger and Christopher Nolan on The Dark Knight.
Mhm.
Um, just like as because I was growing up when those films were coming out, and I still remember seeing that day one. But what was your sort of experience like first like working opposite Heath and seeing him as the Joker, and then as like a follow up, like being on a Christopher Nolan set and seeing what that's like, especially like what we're seeing him do to this year with Oppenheimer.
Yeah, first of all, I found out you don't have to be a weirdo to be a genius,
Hmm.
right? I thought Christopher Nolan was going to be this eccentric dude or whatever because all the amazing movies that he had done, and he's just such a regular guy. I mean, he couldn't be more down to earth and chill. He's very collaborative. There's nothing like my assigned image of what a brilliant director is. And the same thing with Heath. I thought he was going to be in character and all that type of stuff. Very approachable, very much. I try to leave him alone because I know what his workload is going to be. But he's the one approaching. We would trade magic tricks and we were just having fun on set. He wasn't in character. Maybe there's certain parts where he would stay in character, but I didn't. I never saw that. He's just a very approachable, fun guy. So it saddens me that people kind of mark him with this Hollywood method and acting type of kind of persona, and you know, uh, haunted by darkness or whatever. That was far from the case from what I experienced. So I mean, they both were just the most cool, down to earth guys you ever want to meet.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then so like now that you are, I know you directed a film last year, Outlaw Johnny Black. And so I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to see like you work with so many different kinds of people, obviously Christopher Nolan, and I think you worked with Quentin Tarantino a few years back as well. So like do you take any of what you learned from them into your directing style, or is it more
Absolutely.
yeah.
I take everything. I take like with Outlaw Johnny Black, I took a lot of Western directors. I you know I did homage to a lot of them. The Terrence Hills, the Sam Peckinpahs, and I quite intentionally because this is a love letter to the Western genre, and so that's why I did that. You could tell in the actual in the actual trailer there's things that are obvious salutes to Terrence Hill and in Mel Brooks as
Yeah.
well. But yeah, I borrow from everything. I mean, I think that's what life is about.
Mm. And then like as you are doing more, obviously like you do a lot of action films and people like you in the action film. But since you are writing and directing, get to see you do like action comedies as well and show off, more of your talent. Um, is that something that appeals to you more, being able to write and direct more projects, or do you still find performing to be your calling?
No, I even when if I'm performing, I'm still sought out for my opinion on the acting and not only acting but the directing portion and everything else. A lot of times when I'm offered movies that are written already, people offer me the opportunity to rewrite it because I think what I've tried to do is take things beyond the genre and even like having an action movie to make it feel real and do things that kind of um, deliver on the more of the reality. But I mean, I don't separate it all. I even if I'm the actor, I'm going to do whatever I can to collaborate and make the movie as great as it could be. Like I'll stay in my lane when you know uh, I basically will ask permission if if I share something, but usually they're pretty open to it. So it's not about a credit thing. It's about the fact that we're all working together, and I think everybody should do their utmost to make the movie a success. In any way. And that's the way I look at it when I'm a director. I'll listen to anyone. I really believe in a collaborative effort. And so I don't really, you know, I don't really distinguish too much. So I'm there to do all I can to make the best movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And you when you do rewrite, like are you focusing more on character beats or do you try to punch up some of the action beats or is it like kind of sort of a mixture of both or whatever you think is sort of
It's a
necessary?
mixture. It's a mixture. There'll be something that where I go, well, oh, if I think it'll make it a better movie, I'm going to share that.
Yeah.
I'll be remiss to go back home and say I should have asked the director about this because I think that might have made things better. But people know your heart, like when you bring something to someone and you say, and you give them an opportunity that maybe that your idea can make it better, they're all for it. So I've never really found opposition to it. It's
Mm,
just like I would not oppose if someone walked to me, it came up to me, and then they were not coming from ego, and they said, "Hey, in this scene, what do you think about this?" I'm like, "That's the way it should be," So it's and that's the joy of it, and it's not about getting credit for it. It's about just I'm being proud that you've contributed.
awesome. And I don't want to keep you too long, but like n- um we have seen you do some like this is a hardcore action movie, but is there and then we saw Outlaw Johnny Black you show off a little more comedy, but like is there a specific genre that you find more sort of compelling that you want to experiment with more? Like I know comedy is not easy, so it's like is that something that you find challenging and interesting to do more so of or is or do you want to just keep it kind of a mixture of the multiple different genres?
I like the mixture. I mean, I think comedy bleeds in through reality, no matter what. We laugh a lot. If you really think about the average person laughs a lot. I mean, my brother's a Secret Service agent. I know cops that are dealing with life and death situations, and you'd be surprised at how much they laugh through everything. So, I mean, the responsibility of a filmmaker is to recreate humanity honestly. And so that's my goal. There's, I, don't- I have a gripe with certain movies that I say pick from the buffet of other movies, instead of reality. And I don't want to do that. I recognize that the cliches, and I don't want to do that to my audience. I think my audience is a lot more sophisticated, so I don't want to dumb down anything. I want to head toward the realm of reality to make people feel like they're not looking at a real movie at the time. They're looking at life.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mike. I really appreciate this. This has been so great. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was awesome to meet you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Take care.
Rohan, take care.
You too.
Okay, that was good.
Well,
Thank you
cool.
so much.
Thank you. All right.
Really good.
All right. Thank you.
I'm gonna send over the interviews once they're live to your team, so you'll get it. They should share it with you as well.
All right. All right. Thanks a lot.
Of course. Take
Okay.
care.
Bye bye.